What up, folks?
Boomity boom.
Dude, here we are. Here we are, guys. How many days away from when we were sitting in the theaters watching The Force Awakens?
4?
4 days? That's crazy. Did you ever think that this would happen?
4 days?
4 days.
Yeah,
wow.
4 days.
Like,
Count, right?
It seems like it was just yesterday looking at my iPhone and seeing, oh my gosh, Disney bought Star Wars, J.J. Abrams is directing and seeing all that craziness. And now we're here, finally. Holy crap. I feel like I cannot turn around without seeing Star Wars at this moment. Like every ad that pops
up.
That
is an understatement.
It's not just trailers either. It's like Kia,
everything.
Star Wars, Energizer,
Google,
commercial Star
Yahoo,
Wars.
K-Jewelers.
It's like
holy crap.
Target, Walmart.
Product placement.
Nuts.
It is.
Lowe's. There's stuff in Lowe's.
Holy crap.
Macy's has a bunch of stuff.
I haven't seen this sort of thing in a long time.
Where it's everywhere.
Where it's just
since another Star
everywhere.
Since another Disney thing.
No, not even then. Like even stuff that's huge. Like Frozen is huge, but I've never seen it to this extent. Like
Minions
it's been
was really big
everywhere. Oh yeah.
Frozen.
Yeah, but
Disney does it up, man.
Disney does it up. Do not skimp on the advertisement. So here we are. We just watched the prequel trilogy. We literally, me and Luke, just watched episode 3 downstairs in the living room, behind the scenes. But yeah, and so what we're gonna do, just like we did last week, talking about the original trilogy, we're gonna talk about the prequel trilogy, and we're gonna try to be as fair as we can because this is I don't know a single other trilogy who's that's caused as much fan outcry as this prequel trilogy has throughout the year. So my goal is to be relatively fair, and we can call a spade, of course, but I also want to talk about some good things if we can. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Basically, you weren't here the last one, Manisha, but we just go movie to movie, kind of do a regular format, good stuff to bad stuff. We skip out on the ratings. We can kind of just give our general feelings. We're doing 3 movies here, so we're kind of trying to move along at a more brisker pace.
I have problems with ratings.
Really? Okay.
It's hard.
Ratings are hard.
They are.
Yes.
Yeah, I get a lot of crap.
You're getting quite the debate last time.
Oh yeah, over your Mission Impossible Rogue Nation rating.
6 or something like
the
that.
6.6 that heard around the world or whatever.
Shot across the bow.
Anyways, let's get right into it and let's talk about Phantom Menace. Did you guys see this in theaters?
Yes, I did. I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Went and saw it with my mom.
I remember seeing this with my aunt. My aunt took me. And I saw 2 movies that weekend. I saw Tarzan, the Disney animated movie, and Phantom Menace. At the time, I remember being like, "Oh my gosh, the Phantom Menace was so much better than Tarzan." At the time, yeah, we'll discuss whether or not I still believe that. I don't know what Tarzan has to do with this review, but we'll talk about it. In my experience at first, Luke,
a lot more action, I guess. I believe I saw this in theaters. Honestly, I don't remember.
You don't remember? Yeah, it just kind of phased it from your mind.
I believe I watched it in theaters.
Despite how I feel about the movie, I had a really good memory associated with seeing it in theaters.
Me too.
Mom. I think it's neat that I remember seeing a Star Wars movie at a young age with my mom.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, I remember coming out of the theaters, enjoying myself a lot, being like, "Oh my gosh, it was amazing!" Like I really did. I remember having that experience of really enjoying the movie and couldn't wait till it came out in VHS or I know DVD wasn't a common thing yet.
We were 12.
Yeah,
Let's be honest.
We were very much 12.
And Manisha was even younger.
Manisha was much younger.
We were all coming at it from a different perspective than we are sitting here today.
Young children. Yes.
It's just the way it is.
Which that's something to talk about. Obviously, George Lucas had a lot of that in mind. So, yeah, let's go ahead and get right into it. We're going to go ahead and do our general thoughts of the movie, just general impression of how you feel about this movie. Then we'll go into the nitty-gritty. Then we'll move on to the next movie and do the same thing, rinse and repeat. Manisha, general thoughts on the Phantom Menace
general thoughts or me now general thoughts?
You now.
Okay. Me now is actually very similar to my child general thoughts. This movie, it has so much potential, but it just flatlines.
Yeah.
For me,
okay.
It's my least favorite of all the Star Wars movies. It takes a lot for me to just want to sit down and watch The Phantom Menace, which I have no problem with any of the other movies.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All right. So in my view of this movie now, like me and Luke, we sat down and watched it yesterday. For me, it was a really rough sit through. Like, it really was. It isn't much of an enjoyable movie. There's bad movies that you can enjoy and find some entertainment off of, if they're cheesy or cheap or whatever they are. But with this movie, there's just so many boring parts for me. And like so much of the movie is so pointless. And it makes me feel like I'm just sitting through it and just waiting for like those few scenes of relief to make me be like, oh, this is something that's enjoyable. And I'm just waiting for that throughout the whole movie. And it's just not an enjoyable movie for me. And that's a weird opinion for me to have, because I think a while back, like several years ago, like I had this was not the worst one in my head. And now it's gone.
If it wasn't Star Wars, it would be an absolutely horrendous movie.
Wow, okay.
Seriously, if it wasn't put in the Star Wars universe, I would never watch it.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry.
Well, I guess you two are much more negative on. I think it's going to be a trend today. I think I'm a little bit of just an optimist on movies in general, and I guess were you done?
I'm done. That was general thoughts are over.
It was very rude if you weren't done.
No.
I enjoy Star Wars movies, so I enjoy watching Star Wars movies, and it had been quite a while since I've seen this movie, so I enjoyed watching it. If this was a movie I had seen for the 10th or 12th time, I probably wouldn't even want to watch it at all. But being that this is a Star Wars movie, it's in space, like it has lightsabers, all this stuff like makes it totally fine with me and something that I enjoy watching. Now, plot line, it's really tough for me, and I'm trying not to get too specific. In generality, the plot of this movie I have a lot of issues with. The CG, it's 1999. I mean, as we noticed, it gets a lot better, and that's something that just frustrates me. I think they could have done things in a different way. I'm trying to stay general, not nail down, but in general, I don't hate this movie. Of the series, hate might be a word that would come into play, but as a movie in general, like I don't mind watching it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But yeah, certainly in the series of movies is definitely one of my least, maybe my least favorite of what we've seen so far of Star Wars.
Okay.
We'll see about The Force Awakens.
Yeah, we'll see. Who knows? There's no promises.
Could be terrible. You never know.
Could be. You never know. It looks fantastic from what we've seen, but it could be just like, the old...
Could be Fantastic Four.
I will give you each $50.
I don't want your money. I don't want it to be terrible.
I want your money.
I
like money.
I'll take the $50.
I don't want your blood money.
Blood.
Let's get into the good here. We do the good and the bad. Let's do the good. We start off positive. So let's talk about some of the positive things about the Phantom Menace. I think one of the things that this movie does right, and I think I will praise this movie for, it's doing something that's really, really different. I mean, down the road, we're seeing that almost all these movies are very different from the original trilogy. But, coming into it, I think the temptation would have been really big for him to, repeat himself. And I'm going to applaud him for at least trying to do something very different and being very risky. That's something I will applaud Lucas for, his huge risks. And do they pay off? Most of the time, no. But that the effort, I want to go ahead and applaud that. And I feel like it's, admirable that he tries to kind of follow his heart and make something crazy and different.
I would say it pays off. I mean, the prequels didn't ruin Star Wars for people. Like, I'm never gonna see another Star Wars movie. Or
we'll get into where it doesn't pay off, in my opinion. But good stuff.
It was visually entertaining for that time. For sure.
Yeah,
that CGI and stuff in 1999 was great. It was very entertaining, especially I think for kids. I like that. It's like showing the original story of how Anakin Skywalker goes on to be Darth Vader. It's the beginning. So even though maybe it's not the best telling of the story, it's still the beginning. It's the foundation of what made the other three. And I like that. I love getting into digging deeper in background story. So that's a positive.
I think the pod racers are awesome. As much as I don't like a lot about that scene. I think the actual pod racers and I think they're cool. It's just like the NASCAR of their day, but like much more harrowing, and you have freaking guys shooting at you while you're driving around. And so I think the design of that's cool. Something I've always thought Star Wars excelled at was like designs of vehicles, really cool, and sound engineering, just excellent.
Totally.
I watched, like I was telling Jordan a little bit, there's like a behind the scenes on one of the DVDs, Blu-rays, whatever, that they talk about how they like went to junkyards and found random objects, put them together, and made them like do something to create some crazy sound. Like the explosion in the asteroid field where the bomb like exploded and then wah, 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 wah.
Yeah, really.
It is. I completely agree with you on that.
That's not how it sounds, but
they actually recorded
it was a
that.
strange sound.
But no,
I think they're amazing. They do an amazing job on that.
Sound, I guess it is. Yeah, I've seen a lot of those behind the scenes things, and it is neat seeing how they got the speed racers, pod racers, all that kind of stuff, and the sound from that. And what you were saying about pod racing being cool, I agree. Like, it's the fun side of that universe. You know, we don't really see the fun side necessarily because it's all about the fight of good versus evil and that kind of thing. And so, in that sense, it was nice to see, oh, this is what they do in their free time. It's fun. It's neat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I agree with Luke on that one.
Yeah, it's a good thing. There is some good universe building in Star Wars. I mean, like, it's like we're so jaded to it now because it's all over this trilogy. But at the time, that's really neat. Like, just to imagine, because you get kind of a narrow view of the galaxy in the original trilogy, to be honest. And like his goal was to expand it in this, and he's done that, and he's mostly successful in the ways that he's expanded the universe in a way, and you kind of get a lot more of a feel for it. I mean, obviously there's the books too, which expanded it, and also like the shows. But in the movie universe, like he did a pretty cool job doing some expansion to the universe, and it's appreciated. Like doing stuff like the pod racing and whatnot, and just kind of seeing a lot of different planets, even though they're all just like lava planets and water planets or desert planets. Maybe
you got to have variation.
Forest planet.
Yeah,
they use up so many of what there is out there.
Yeah,
at some point. Volcano planet has to be.
Planet, exactly.
That's why it's the final straw.
They're all just levels. They're all just worlds from Mario.
Exactly.
We're going into Ice World. Here's Big World, actually.
Got the Nintendo guys in there. What do you think we should do next? Volcano.
Perfect. Volcano level. I mean world. I mean planet.
I like Ewan McGregor. I like him as an actor. I think he fit well in Obi-Wan. I don't like a lot of the other casting in this movie, or all three of these movies, to be honest. But I like Ewan McGregor. I think throughout all three, just in general, he did as good of a job as he could have with what he was handed.
Yeah.
But he's just a good actor, and he's just, I don't know, that his presence and just, people have a ness about them that they put out, and I really like it. And I think he added a bright light in that universe. Yeah,
and he sounds like Allen Guinness too, like the original Obi-Wan Kenobi. He has that. He's very good at like saying things the way he did. He obviously like studied really hard his performance in the original trilogy, and he does a great job as far as that's concerned.
And he's so important, so they needed to get that right.
Absolutely. Okay. Positive. Lightsaber fights, very cool. I think they're very cool. Like, we've talked about how, I do like some of the lightsaber fights in the original trilogy, minus that one in New Hope, but I think they're all great here. Like, I mean, you don't get that many lightsaber fights. You only really get one in this movie, which is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, the one that we get with Darth Maul versus Obi-Wan Kenobi and Qui-Gon Jinn is very amazing. It's the best thing in this movie. It's almost like jarring how much of it, how much it's the best thing of this movie. It's kind of one of those things where it's like, wait a minute, what? When did this movie get really, really good? Like, it's one of those things where it's like, in a sea of either pretty good, horrible, or mediocre, there shines something that's really good. It's almost like, what? And that fight is incredible.
Just Jar Jar Binks.
Yep.
I did just Jar Jar Binks. We'll save him.
But it is a good fight scene. It's, as I said, I have issues with the old one, but like I said, my issues are with just how slow it is. It's just too slow, and whether it's the time frame or his new vision or whatever, I like them. I like the new fights. I like that they're just quick. It's finally like, okay, people are going to be reacting quickly if they're a Jedi Master, like if they're a Sith Lord. Like, these titles should mean something. Like,
exactly.
You should have quick reflexes. If you can do these freaking flippity flips, like he even can in the old trilogy, like he's flipping off things. Like, you should be able to freaking sword fight quickly, like a fencing champion. Like, you should be moving, and we definitely get that here. And of course, the double-ended lightsaber is pretty awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And like, it's so fast. I think the best moments is after Qui-Gon's killed. Like, for some reason, it's weird. Like, you think them two fighting together would be the best, but actually the best is when freaking Obi-Wan goes and storms him, and he's like all filled with anger or whatever, and he's super fast. He does that whole thing where he dodges in front of him, then behind him, and it's like, that's the moment when you're like, oh my gosh. Like, I've seen that fight so many times, and watching it yesterday, I was still like, like on the edge of my seat, kind of like, this is so
What's
good.
Gonna happen?
Like, this is weird. Like, I'm doing this. This is so good in this movie, and it's just it's so weird. It's odd because in movies like that you're not really going along with, when there's a good action scene, sometimes you're just like, I don't even care because like you're not enjoying the movie for the most part. And then when a pretty good action scene comes along, you're just not caring. But in this one, the action scene is just so good that it just overcomes a lot of other bad stuff. But anything else?
Positive things. I like Liam Neeson. I just think if he had better direction and scripting, which is how I feel about a lot of the movies, he would have done even better.
Yeah, he just seemed kind of bored actually in this movie. You know,
he's very flat. But I think if he had better direction, it could have been great. He would have been great.
A lot of these actors that are in a lot of these movies are, known for doing a lot of other great stuff outside of this trilogy. So it just kind of goes to show you how important writing, all this stuff. An actor,
and
a director,
I really
who knows
like Samuel L.
acting.
Jackson, and I just think that was cool.
In this,
I know he was in it for like 5 seconds, but I was
in this first.
I like the I like he was introduced to it. I just like that. I don't know.
Yeah,
it made me happy.
You got any other good stuff, Luke?
Not that I can think of.
The music.
Oh, the music, yeah. Go ahead, there. The music.
I don't think the music ever
is ever
dipped
questioned
in this series.
Yeah, I mean, they just reuse a lot of
it's
old
really
stuff.
good. It's just great. A good score.
It's still not as good in my opinion, but there's a lot of great moments and great scores, especially that Duel of Fates. It's classic. It's awesome. Everyone knows that's a great thing. Oh yeah. But anyways, let's move on to the bad stuff. I mean, that's the thing. I don't want to rattle on too much. This movie is getting torn through the dirt for so long, and for the most part, rightfully so, I think. But let's talk about some of the bad stuff.
I think this is positive. I forgot. I like the kid that played Anakin Skywalker.
Okay, I'm glad we're in the bad section because I think Jake Lloyd is very bad in this movie. I mean, honestly, he's a kid. I'm not gonna kick Jake Lloyd, and he's just a kid. But like, he was apparently picked among thousands and thousands of tryouts, which is so strange. They were searching the kid who played Anakin Skywalker, and they picked Jake Lloyd. It's just puzzling to me. Whereas you feel like they'd pick a kid who's like, wow, you're a really good actor. Not the kid from Jingle All the Way. But anyways,
that was after, wasn't it?
No, this was Jingle All the Way
before. Wow.
Yeah. This was right off the big smash. Jingle All the Way
was that old. Jeez.
Yeah, man, we're old.
I think my opinions have been a little bit spoiled by just some amazing children actors.
Oh yeah.
True Grit, like that girl. My goodness, she did an amazing job. And
she's great.
Yeah.
Oh, there's one other example I was just thinking of. The kid from Mud. Like, it's like people like this, you see these kids and you see what a child actor could do. And then you watch this movie, you go back to this movie like we just did. And I just watched Joe, the movie that same kid from Mud was in. And he did a great job again. He's a great actor. And it's just, I wish we could have found someone like that who just, I don't know, they get handed a script and they just nail it. Like, they know the character in and out. They become the character. And I mean, this isn't that kind of movie. I'll be honest. Phantom of the Menace was never going to be this kind of movie. I don't think, no matter who plotted it, no matter who scripted it, no matter who directed this movie, it was never going to be a Mud, like a nitty-gritty kind of movie. And that's fine. But it still could be acted well. Like,
oh, yeah.
You can still get on the screen and have a presence about you. And I don't think Anakin did at all. It's just like some of the lines, and you know, you always want to say, well, how could he have said that line any better? It was just a terrible line, and some of that, yeah, but it was said in a real whiny way. I mean, maybe you should see it again, Manisha. Maybe you'll see what we're saying.
Are you an angel?
I just watched it way before this.
Okay, well,
I think for what the movie is, I mean, because that's how I feel about a lot of it, is that the script should have been redone, direction should have been redone, like. The excuse that this kid used the tools he was given and he wasn't mature enough necessarily to go outside of those tools and find other ones to make whatever he was doing better. So, I mean, that's how I feel about Liam Neeson. I feel about a lot of it. Like, I think
but I felt like Ewan McGregor
better.
I felt like Ewan McGregor had a better presence.
He kind of rose above, like,
he did,
the role that he had.
The standard, but he's still, we've seen Ewan McGregor in lots of other movies where he was, I thought, way better. So I think it's the same thing, that almost his, like, their actor spirit is crushed a little bit when you don't have that positivity, encouragement of good direction, good writing, you know.
Certainly, I don't think anybody would disagree with that.
Yeah, so that's my biggest thing when it comes to all these, because I know people say that about the next Anakin Skywalker and everything. But I hate Jar Jar Binks. I never really did hate him before, and I really hate that character.
All right, before we go into Jar Jar, which we have some stuff to say about Jar Jar, I want to talk about Jar Jar, but I want to play a quick game. What is your favorite bad Jake Lloyd, Anakin Skywalker line in Phantom Menace?
I mean,
we have a lot to choose from here.
When he's talking to C-3PO, he's just like, "Don't worry, I won't let Mom sell you."
Oh, I hated his delivery in that scene where it's like, "I'm going into space in a starship." I'm like, what are you trying to say here? You don't want to? What? Are you doing this against your... Okay.
I was saying it in a pompous way, I think. Like,
it's...
Check me out, C-3PO.
Awesome. Ugh, it was horrible.
It makes no sense. It's a droid. Why are you bragging to a droid?
Yeah, the worst one I don't think is laced solely upon Jake Lloyd's shoulders. It's mainly the script here. But the line that irks me the most, and his delivery of it, and the line in general, is, "Let's try spinning. That's a good trick." I hate that. I hate that. I hated that whole scene, but I hate that. Ugh.
He said stay in this cockpit, so that's what I'm going to do.
Turn off this autopilot, R2, before it gets us both killed. The lines. Now, this is pod racing. Let's move on to Jar Jar Binks. Hit the nose. Okay.
That could just be his voice, too.
Yeah, he has a very annoying voice.
Poor little kid.
Poor little kid.
That's why you get a different actor.
Right now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So Jar Jar Binks is the embodiment, the human embodiment of my problems with this movie. I'm not saying that all my problems lie slowly. No, it doesn't lie solely on like him is my problems. But my problems with this movie is I feel like through most of it, I'm wasting my time. And almost every single scene with Jar Jar in it is just a big waste of time. Because it's time for this, at least with Anakin here with Jake Lloyd, even though his scenes may be bad, we're at least talking about the plot. We're at least moving the story forward and trying to do some character stuff. But with Jar Jar, nope. It's time to sit back and watch some horrible physical comedy, some fart jokes, and a ridiculous accent.
So let's be honest. Like, the entire reason he was put in this was so that they could have a connection to the Gungans. Like, that's literally the only reason he was put in this. And then it just seemed like he just dragged along for the rest of the time, like,
for no reason,
pointlessly. Yeah. And how easily could they not have been like, we know about the Gungans. Let's swim down to their city and talk to them. Like, it's that simple.
Yeah.
You don't have to save some idiot from being crushed and by telling him to lay down, which you should have known.
He was he's comedic relief that just turned into a horrible annoyingness is more like it. I mean, he's supposed to be there to, like, it just made me think of, like, how you entertain kids.
Just put C-3PO in there and be done.
Right?
When I was a kid, I try to think back, because I'm trying to think back, do I like this? But sometimes when you're a very young kid, you like something because you know you're supposed to. That sounds weird, but I really do think that I tolerated it when I was a child, and I was like, I'm supposed to think this is funny, so I guess it is. Because when you're a kid, you don't have your critical thinking kicked in yet. Yeah, I mean, like, not, for the most part, a lot of kids don't have their critical thinking. And that's how I was. I was like, I'm supposed to like that, so I do. I was really bad about that. That's how most kids are. It's like a movie that like is horrible. You'll watch a million times sometimes because you're like, something's not right, but I'm going to watch this movie. Oh, and then you realize that that's something that wasn't right. Was because
I can think of movies that I did that too.
I mean, it's the same thing with like some of the droids talking and their
Roger.
Like, and they're like, oh, the Tatooine, that doesn't compute. Like that, I was just like,
run away.
You didn't even put that in there. Like, it's the script. I think a lot of it comes down to the script for me, big time. I also think the pod racing, as cool as it was way too drawn out and
quite long.
My mom and I almost walked out of the theater when that
really.
I remember turning to my mom and was like, "This is boring."
Wow.
And she was like, "Well, do you want to leave?" I was like, "No, we'll stick through it." But like, which I'm glad I did. But it just was so drawn out, and I felt that way today when I was watching. I was just like, "Okay, give me another chance. Haven't seen it in a while." Still very drawn out, very long.
Yeah.
You know,
as cool as it is, like it could have been cut.
I don't think they should have eliminated it completely, but they shouldn't have put so much focus. Like I would have liked to see them put more focus on putting Anakin through tests. And you're like, oh, like he's supposed to be the one. Like, oh, let's focus on that a little bit more. So
I mean, focus on that more instead of Jar Jar putting his freaking mouth in like power couplings or whatever, and the stupid numb tongue joke. Oh,
like things like that do matter to the overall storyline and plot. Like, who knows what they could have come up with as far as like, okay, how are we going to test this kid besides looking in his mind? Like, you know, like that would have been really interesting. So, yeah.
Yeah.
And this leads into my number one problem with this movie.
Okay.
The number one thing that just makes me so angry. They turned Star Wars into a comedy in this movie.
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates me to no end. And the pod racer to me was the pinnacle of that. It was just all around from things they showed in the crowd to the announcers. It was just a joke. Like it was a never ending joke.
Luke, I don't care what universe you're from. That's gotta hurt.
It was just never ending. It's like Star Wars, the original Star Wars, which should be the source material, which, yes, change things, add, expand the universe. That's fine. But be true to the source material. No matter what movie you're making, be true to the source material as much as you can. Elaborate on it, but don't change it. And to me, that's what it was. They changed the essence of what Star Wars was into a comedy. Yeah. Star Wars, there was one-liners from Han that were, somewhat funny, somewhat stupid, but like Jar Jar doing that, it's not slapstick. Like we don't need that kind of just dumb stuff.
And it's everywhere.
And it's
everywhere. And they cut to it like pit droids are like freaking pushing each other around,
falling over.
Like, no, we don't need that. Or like, and I completely agree with you, Luke. But I don't know. But it seems like George Lucas's whole thing with this movie is he like almost wanted the audience to grow with the movies. You know, sort of like in Harry Potter, where we grew with the kids in the movies, and so he started out a little bit more like, I don't agree with this or condoning it, but like. That's what I sort of get from the movie. Like he wanted this to be for children, and I guess sort of for adults to enjoy, but more for children to be attracted to.
Yeah, that's the funny thing because that's what the original trilogy already was. Like the original trilogy was that thing that both kids and adults could like. Yeah. It was that magical in between. But in this movie, they veer far off to the point where it's like if you're an adult and you have your critical thinking, you're gonna be like, "What the heck's going on? And what is this?" And the problem is too. This leads on to my other thing, my bad thing, that if you're a kid, you're going to be scratching your head wondering what in the heck is going on with a trade federation and the tax? What in the world? I'm 28 years old.
On that, yeah.
And I'm not an idiot. And sometimes I still have to stop and think and be like, what's going on again?
Wait, this is happening?
Exactly. What? She's trying to sign this treaty that allows what now?
A space opera.
They did.
That's how they describe it. It's confusing like an opera.
It was very choppy. Like, that goes to this. It's very choppy going from like Tatooine to what was going on with the Trade Federation and the treaty and everything. Like they focus so long here and then would be here for 5 seconds and then go back to where they focus on. And that too. Editing.
Yeah, the editing is kind of... Yeah, exactly. We're getting to the point where we're just going, no. There was that one scene I was talking about with the editing, like where they were on the ship after, they were on the ship with the Viceroys at the beginning, and then they're on Tatooine. All of a sudden, they're like, here we are running away from some droid ship. So and it's just like, what do? Jump down from the ship? They were supposed to be on those
transports, and then they were just, here we are.
Here we are in the middle of the forest.
Jumped when they were way up there.
It was just really weird, really strange. Oh man. Oh, let's talk about some other big things. Any other big problems with this? That it's just kind of like, I mean,
I thought, and I don't really know, I guess, how they are supposed to be culturally and socially, but the Queen, like, her whole demeanor was very boring.
Well, when she talks just like this,
exciting, like, outfit. Like, if she didn't have that type of costume design, I would just be like, what are you? Why are you here? What is going on? Like, her whole thing was so flat. And I don't know if they did that because they wanted, the actual, like, when she was Padme to stand out, I guess. I don't know. But that, like, was almost very contradictory when she was in such lavish outfits that speak so much. And then it's just like,
it seems like
guy that used to do the eye commercials.
What?
Red eyes.
Oh, what? Ben Stein?
Yeah.
It seems like being the queen of Naboo is like being Batman. It's like you have your secret identity where you go walk around freely, but then you have the thing where you put on makeup and you put on a suit and you do a voice. And so it's because she didn't talk like that when she's like not in that outfit.
I know.
And it's just weird. It's really weird.
Jasmine did the same thing and she still talked normally when she's all dressed up. I'm just saying, it's just like, it was very like, you can be stern and still be animated. You can have authority and still have charisma. Like, it's just that's something that always was like, okay. And it almost made me more like uninterested in what was going on with that part of the movie because it was just so like
super dull and flat and weird. Yeah.
And then you have Jar Jar Binks over here just being a fool.
Ugh. All right, so this is the last thing I want to bring up as bad stuff before we, unless you guys have stuff, we can move on.
We got one more.
All right, cool. So I wanted to discuss midichlorians a little bit. This is something where I'm not like super against. I'm against it, but I'm not like, this is, oh my gosh. It's definitely kind of contradictory to what was set up because in the original trilogy, the Force was very much magical, very obscure and kind of just out there. Hard, you can't quantify it. But in this, they clearly want to make the Force something that you're able to quantify and say like, this is how much, because like the only thing we had in the old ones is the Force is strong in you. That's it.
Yeah.
I could sense the Force strong in you. Now we can actually count a person's power level or capabilities or potential in the Force by counting their midichlorians. It's a device that I find not good and I wish it wasn't there, but it's not something I'm like, I hate this. I can kind of just ignore it, to be honest. But
it's not that in like all these movies.
No,
yeah,
it's mentioned like a few times.
Once of how important it is, and then they don't really.
I think they mention it once other in the next movie.
Yeah, they have one speech about it, about what it is, because the Star Wars fans who are scratching their head in the theater, we have Qui-Gon Jinn to kind of sit you down and explain what it's just kind of useless
deep inside you.
Little fellas. It says it's everything. There could be no life without midichlorians.
Yeah.
So that like relates to me as to like why even bring it up then.
So that you're added? Like, yeah, I think it's the same thing. They could have focused more on that.
Yeah.
Than pod racing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you're gonna bring it in there, at least try to talk about it, explain it more, and less wasting my time.
And how that transfers over to Anakin being so important. I don't know.
But I'm not crazy. I don't hate it like a lot of people do. I'm just like, why? It's just pointless to me. Luke, what were you? A lot of people hate it because like it takes away from the magic, and I understand that. But I'm just,
they don't explain it.
Whatever. But Luke, what you got?
I really hate how this entire battle that was supposed to be this big epic thing with the Gungans and the droids comes to an end. It comes to an end because Anakin crashes his ship on that giant whatever Star Destroyer. It's
like
probably
that control ship,
whatever. And then he accidentally shoots whatever thing that sets off a chain reaction that blows up the entire ship.
Terrible.
And then somehow they then figure out how to start up the ship and get out and not die. It's
like, is that satisfying?
It's just crazy that it was just resolved that way. Like, I would appreciate it so much more if they catered to my intelligence and said, look, this kid's freaking gifted. And he just did what he was supposed to do. He just said, okay, here we go, R2. We're going to go freaking destroy this ship. Yeah. Like, I know the weak point because the Force spoke to me or whatever. Like,
more of like
explain it, not just, oops.
Oh my gosh! Well, you're saying that would have been so much better if they just made him good.
In the old movie, when Lucas flying and Obi-Wan comes out, over that little Force intercom, and it's just like, use the Force.
The
like,
Force intercom.
Like
coming in over the Force earpiece.
But that's almost like what it should have been. Like there was some mysterious thing telling him this is what you do, and then he does it instead of.
He's freaking Darth Vader. Like.
Yeah, don't make it a joke.
He's supposed to be amazing.
Yeah.
Like when you do it that way, and like you could say it's the Force and everything, but the way it was done, it's no better.
It was a freaking accident.
It's no better than Jar Jar having the freaking robot attached to his leg, firing at other robots, being an idiot. It's no different than that at that point. I mean, obviously it kind of is, but still, like that would have been awesome if it was what you said. Because like him talking about pod racing, being like, I'm the only human that can do it. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like I'd like to see more of that like hidden power within you, but all we really get is him like you see him pod racing, but then you see him accidentally win a space battle, and then you see him like predict what pictures behind the little iPad or whatever. Yeah. But anyways,
and one thing, it's like R2 is freaking awesome. Like let's get down to the brass tacks here. R2 is the hero of Star Wars. Like I venture to say that because he's there all the time, and you may not like him because he's a droid and he's real simple. But the fact of the matter is, he's in the plane with him. Like he's in the fighter jet with him. Yeah. If he wanted to override the autopilot, he would zip his little thing and that'd be it. Like he would immediately figure out. He'd just fly the plane and probably destroy the thing if Anakin would let him.
R2 really brought the Force to balance.
And they make him seem dumb in that scene. Like, they make him seem like, oh, how does this thing work? Like, he's been spinning that knob for years.
It's that little knob that he's got.
He's always in and then spin and figure it out.
In and then spin.
Where's the Star Destroyer spin?
That's the Astro droid motto there. Oh, my gosh. All right, guys. Well, let's move on. We don't like that movie very much, but there is some good stuff in it. In a movie that
Star Wars. It comes down to it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess so.
It's
laser guns and lightsabers.
Yep. It still is Star Wars.
And there's some mystery to it. Just
it's not Fantastic Four.
It very much is not.
It is not Fantastic Four.
It's like the beacon of hope.
So much better than that movie.
Isn't Fantastic Four.
So much better.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Oh, man. Amen. All right. So episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
You want to say any final things about that one? Like
Phantom Menace.
We're not giving numbers or anything for that one.
Well, not really. I mean, I don't like that movie very much, but I have fond memories.
I give it a 9.5.
9.5. You give it an 11.
The new score that shot around the world.
A 10 is the worst.
Wow,
just kidding.
Oh jeez. Yeah, I don't want to rate it. Like even asked Jordan
That's
before
fine.
We did the podcast. I was like, are we rating? Like, I just don't know what I would do. It's hard.
I love it. You guys hate it. Got it.
I just don't know because I do, as much as I dislike it, I still love it because it's Star Wars. Like, I just do.
Yeah.
So I can't, I don't know. I just don't know.
In conclusion,
One more thing of praise I forgot to say. Darth Maul is freaking awesome. Not the character because he didn't do anything, but his character design and the freaking stunts done by Ray Park are amazing, and that makes the fight. Well, not to downplay the others, but oh man, Satan's in this universe. Oh no! All right, so
I was little, didn't know any better.
Episode
2, Attack of the Clones. General thoughts. Let's do it.
I'm gonna let Luke start on this one.
Luke, do
it. This movie was an improvement, and yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that for now.
Yeah. I mean, okay, at this point, like seeing Star Wars in theaters, like these prequel trilogies, I was growing up a little bit more. Then I was kind of understanding a little bit what this prequel trilogy kind of is, and my critical thinking is starting to kick in a little bit. Where are we in 2002 here?
When did you start critically thinking at like 16?
I think that was it.
15.
I was 15.
We would be around 15, the two of us.
It was that day actually when I saw Attack of the Clones. But some reason I started thinking like, these aren't that great, and so like rewatching episode 1 back then, I'm like, this isn't that great. And then coming into this one, I was just feeling really negative about this. But watching it now, I back then I was like, this is the worst one. Like when I was younger, I thought this was the worst one. But watching it now, and right off the bat of Phantom Menace, big improvement. As I said,
CGI immediately shows up.
CGI immediately is a huge improvement. And all right, we'll get into it a little deeper. But what I will say is that this movie entertains me. I watch it and I will be entertained. I do overall enjoy it. I'm not gonna pop it in regularly, but overall, I'm like, all right, it's an entertaining movie. A lot of dumb parts, a lot of stupid things, but overall, at least it's able to entertain me throughout, and I don't feel like I'm wasting my time. So, Manisha.
Yeah, I feel exactly the same as you two.
Oh, really?
It was an improvement. It's very entertaining. I like it probably more than both of you guys.
Yes.
But
infamously in our relationship, your like for this movie. I don't want to say love because I don't know how your feelings have evolved.
I will say this. I mean, yes, it's a big improvement. A lot of things improve visually. But it is the movie for me that made me really go back and watch all the other Star Wars movies and just fall in love with Star Wars.
Okay.
So it has a sentimental value too, also, and I think that's another reason I like it so much.
All right, then let's get into this one. I'm looking forward to talking about this one because it's the one I've watched the least. Like that's really the thing of all the Star Wars, every single one of them. This is the one I've watched the least, and it's yeah, but it's still a lot of times because I've seen all these Star Wars movies a lot, but this is the least one I've seen the least. So let's talk about some good stuff about this movie. You said it. CGI is improvement.
I think something that the second two movies, the first one not as much, some of it, but the second two definitely. The environments. I mean, we did a Star Wars thing like way back where we were talking about it, and I said it then, and I say it now. Like the cities and all that, just they look really good. Like,
yeah,
they've designed well. They're beautiful. You know, whether or not I think they should have been there, been that, and with the plot is irrelevant. The fact is just like the CGI just is really well done, and it's unlike what they did to the old movies where they added in stupid things that didn't help and just were like blaring. Like this was added later. Like we don't know what we were doing here. Like, but this one it's really pretty, and like the whatever the planet's called, where it's just a city. Like that one. That one's always like the one that's just amazing. It's you got the clouds and the sunset. A lot of times they'll show. It's behind them in the elevator a lot of times, and when Anakin and Padme are talking, they're usually out there on some balcony and overlooking it.
That's Italy.
It's really pretty.
That was Italy and Naboo. Yeah. Oh wow!
They filmed James Bond there too. Fun fact.
Oh.
Yeah. I love that spot.
Naboo as well.
Costume design was beautiful. I think that was a huge positive thing. You see Padme and all these just amazing, lavish things, and I think they fit the CGI sets that they're in and the environment and where the story is at that time. Like I was really impressed with the costume design.
Yeah,
a lot.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great thing.
I will give this movie a compliment. It's kind of like a double-edged compliment. While the plot does leave a good deal to be desired, I think it is enormous improvement from the first one. We're kind of done with the whole tax federation thing. It's like that first one was like, it just felt like the complaint a lot of people have is that like the first one and the second one should have been kind of combined, and we shouldn't spend much time with Anakin as a kid and all that stuff. And I tend to agree, just because this is where the actual story kicks in. Yeah. This is where the interesting stuff here, the rise of the Emperor, and just how you see the the clone army take rise. I mean, these are some big things that matter. The Death Star plans, these are some big things that matter, and we didn't really get any of that other than just Anakin being found in the first one. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really all we have. But here, stuff that matter is happening. And
you
so that's an improvement.
Improve a lot too, I think, in this movie. Ewan McGregor, like I think he just matured a lot in this.
Yeah.
And did really well with his character.
He grew with his character because he was younger. He was like a really young and inexperienced Obi-Wan, and now he's a master.
Sure,
he's the master Jedi.
Yeah.
And I think this was the best acting of all these three movies.
Oh, really?
I think Obi-Wan's acting in this movie was quite a bit above the other two. I really don't like his acting in the third one, but in the third one, I mean episode 3.
I disagree for one part of that movie.
We'll get there. But
just one part though.
Yeah, I think I could see where you're coming from though with the acting, because there's a wider range of things that need to be done acting wise in this movie.
It's still not great, but
yeah, no,
I think it's better.
It's never great.
It could have been better.
Well, Actually, I'll retract that later about the acting never being great. I'll retract that later. But what could have been great, Manisha?
We're still on negative stuff, right?
We're still on good. We're starting on good stuff.
Oh crap! I got distracted.
It kind of blends together
Sorry.
sometimes.
I guess it does movies. A little bit, like, because what I was thinking of is Samuel L. Jackson. Like, I really like his character, but sometimes I'm just like what? I don't know. I just he almost seems to be this high authority, but then not, but then yeah, and I don't know. I don't know. That was one of those things that was good, but could have been better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well. I think another compliment, I mean, I'll probably give this compliment on each and every one of these. I think the action, for the most part, continues to improve within each movie. And so, like, it's improved here. And, like, it's awesome with that first action scene, that chase straight off when Obi-Wan jumps out of that freaking window like a freaking BA and just, like, grabs onto that droid. It's awesome. Like, that car chase is really cool. And we get it right off. And the fight between Obi-Wan versus Jango Fett, I think that's a really cool fight, just because it's the kind of fight you don't see very often. You usually see Jedis hacking away at droids or Jedi fight versus Jedi. And it was cool to see a capable non-Jedi fight a Jedi like that, even though it was kind of, you know, he ultimately lost, sort of, I guess. Yeah. But it was really neat, and you get to see him being resourceful.
That brings up something interesting I was thinking about. Like, I think they kind of missed an opportunity here where they could have made something kind of cool where he flies out the window and he's chasing down, the assassin. The part where they go into the club, like, I feel like that could have really been an iconic scene.
Yeah.
Like A New Hope. That they really missed an opportunity there where it just ended up being them running amok and running out back, and then she gets shot. But they could have shown some cool aliens, and there could have been some interaction there, like there was in the Han Solo scene.
There's a reason for that, I think. It's like when it comes to like these movies, and kind of like they overdo it with like the busyness and the CGI. It kind of like you don't really allow yourself to get sunken into a place. Like, it's kind of hard to actually feel planted in that place like you do in the Cantina bar in Tatooine, Mos Eisley. You feel
but they like pause there, and they're like, she's hiding, so we'll go in there slowly. And they just it could have been iconic, and it wasn't. It was very forgettable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame.
I agree. I think that I was thinking the same thing. Like, they could have made that chase way better. And I think part of the reason, though, maybe he didn't like stop build a set with that one is like, you're just trying to repeat what happened in the Cantina console. That could have been transferred over to that with fans being like, oh, well, it's not as good. So, I mean, either way, I think they could have tried, but like the locations. That depends on
the fans' opinion, because some would probably say, oh, they're paying homage, and others would say you're copying.
You suck. You're not original.
That's just, I guess, how people are.
But I think if they did it, they probably would have done it well, because all the locations, like, those were beautiful. And I thought they did well blending them in with the story, like just the location. I thought it was a lot of those.
Yeah, very nice
stuff. So, I mean, George Lucas had the capability to do that for sure.
Something I feel like a lot of fans are sort of split on, which I think of as a big compliment, is freaking Yoda being awesome is the highlight. One of the highlights of the movie. When I think of like good things about this movie, that's the first thing that pops up in my head. For the first time, we get to see Yoda in combat. And it's really cool. It's crazy. Like, I remember like being shocked in theaters.
Yeah.
And like,
that's one thing I do remember about seeing it in theaters. I was just like, oh my, this is about to happen.
Yeah, blown away by that.
So cool.
It's like something you just never really imagined.
I still think it's cool.
It is cool.
My opinion has not changed on that.
Yeah, mine either.
Very neat.
Other things, I'm gonna give a couple half compliments. I'll save the other half for later. But I'll save the front hand of the compliment for now, and I'll show the backhand later. I want to give some credit, because this isn't a popular view, but I think that Hayden Christensen gives a couple good performances in this movie. I think at times Like I can see some good performances kind of screeching out of him. You know what I mean? This scene gets.
I don't know what you mean.
Dang it!
Please explain.
This scene gets a lot of crap, and I get while you're hearing what he's saying, and you're hating those lines because of how terribly written they are and how much you're hating the character. I will say that he is actually doing a pretty good job in that scene where he's describing killing the Tusken Raiders.
Yes.
It's a little over the top, but I buy it. Like he's acting there. He's, tearing up, his lips quivering. He's really emoting there. I mean, he's doing a lot of stuff. And so there's one. That's a good one.
My excuse is he was paid a lot of money. He's a young actor in a huge movie, so he's got to do something.
He's got to do something sometimes.
Trying to make his image good.
And he is good when he's looking evil, even though to what purpose he's looking evil. He's just looking evil for just to be like, oh, he's really obviously supposed to look evil here. It's an evil look. I'll give him
Which
that.
is almost entirely in the next movie.
I was gonna say that's more so.
What part would you say in this movie?
He's riding on that little motorcycle on the CGI plane. He's like,
yeah, I guess so.
I'm gonna kill me some Tusken Raiders, but not just the men, women,
He's thinking that,
and the children. They're animals. I slaughtered them like animals.
I'm thinking they're like animals.
I hate
right
them.
now.
Well, we're not. I guess I gotta wait till we get to the negative. Yeah.
And
yeah, I don't agree.
Okay, that's fine. A lot of people don't.
No, that's fine.
I like it.
Okay, all right, high five. I'm not gonna really do it, but the second half compliment will be to the little mystery that they have Obi-Wan Kenobi going on. I think it's kind of interesting, even though like I'm not
confusing.
Confusing would be the other side of the hand. But the whole thing. What's his clone army doing? Who's Sifo Dyas? Darth Tyrannus? Yeah. What's his planet doing? It's interesting. I like him going about kind of trying to figure it out. And like I was talking about this last night. It kind of occurred to me like that scene where he's in there with the Padawans and Yoda's training him. I like that scene. It's like you kind of get to see Yoda being a little playful with him, and so you kind of see like that little playful side in Return of the Jedi that never really comes out again. Where he's like or whatever, he's like being a little playful with him. He's like, looks like Master Kenobi has misplaced the planet or whatever. I kind of like that, and you got the little kid being like, "Did someone erase it from the database?" Which is obvious, and yeah. Obi-Wan, you should be standing there being made a fool of by Yoda and all these kids.
Yoda turns and said, "Nope,
idiot." But I like that scene, even though this scene is kind of stupid too. I kind of like it in a way with him meeting Dex or whatever.
Oh yeah,
Dax the Destroyer.
Yeah, Drax. Yeah, I kind of like that because it's just this random guy. I don't like the fact that it's a New York diner for some reason, and he's like, "Gotcha, pancakes" or whatever. I don't like that, but I like the idea that like
weird
Obi-Wan.
That it was him.
Yeah, I just like the idea that Obi-Wan has had friends who aren't these all just a bunch of stoic Jedis, and he has connections outside of the Jedi Order and knows people. Yeah, I like that. Like it's not just universe building; it's kind of like showing that these characters have existed for a while and aren't just existing now, which is important.
It's weird though that they only threw that one in there to like ground him like that. Though.
Yeah, there should have been more. That's what I'm saying.
It seemed like a deleted scene that just got put in the final cut.
Like how your manners are, how big your pocketbook is. But yeah, I like those scenes. I like Obi-Wan's little adventure he goes on by himself. Anything else? Oh, Christopher Lee's in this movie. I like seeing him. I like hearing him. Rest in peace. He has a nice voice.
He does. He was a good villain, essentially. Yeah.
You said that with such confidence.
Well,
he was a good
because he wasn't fully
villainous
yet. Like he was working his way. Like he was, but we weren't like that.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
He wasn't in this movie that much either.
He was a good villain.
Shows up at the end.
You don't see it as much.
Shows up in the final act.
It's weird that he's like such a dictator. Like even the way they describe it on here, like as the plot, it's like, oh, he's over this, but it's like you don't really know that.
Where is
most of the
movie? They
movie.
should have put him more in the movie too.
Yeah, you just hear him, like them saying, like, Count Dooku's not behind this. He doesn't kill anyone. That's not in his nature, or something like that. And so you just hear about him, and then he shows up randomly at the end. So you don't really have a sense of.
They should have built him up. It was just like all of a sudden, you don't know how powerful I am. It's like, no, we really don't.
We really don't.
We don't know who you are.
Too much, not enough show, too much tell, and so you don't really get the idea of him at all.
Yeah.
But
that's kind of a theme with these movies, though. They seem to do that.
Exposition.
Same thing in the next movie.
All right, let's get into that. Let's go ahead and talk. Are we kind of blending into the negative here? Are we blending into the bad? Do we have anything else to say? Let's do it.
Tear it apart.
Let's freaking kill it. No, I'm not gonna do it as much in this one. Script, man.
Keep going back to that. The script, and then the delivery of the already poorly written script is bad. Like with the scene you were talking about, where Hayden Christensen's bearing his soul about how he just killed a bunch of things, and Padme's there standing, and her reaction was just very.
He's like, they're there.
Yeah,
freaking Padme is an enabler in this.
No, maybe you should have talked about it. Had a conversation about how you're letting this fear take a hold of you, turn into anger, turning you into Darth Vader. Explored that area a little bit more, especially given that Padme is his love, and usually people who are in love talk about things like that. I don't know.
And while we're on the subject, the love scenes in this movie aren't good.
Middle school Manisha loved them.
You certainly did, Manisha.
I did. And I got made fun of it a lot.
Mostly by me.
By a lot of friends. And my youth leader. Oops. Putting that out there. I think middle school Manisha loved that. Me now, they could have definitely cut it down more, explored Kenobi more, explored the more villainous side of things. I think the mystery that it's presenting, I think they could have explored that more, cut down the love scenes. We get it, you like her, great.
Just cut out a few things, you can keep
or add more depth to them, because they were so shallow. They were all shallow, all of them. Even them getting married was shallow. Just take less, put more depth. It would have been a lot better. Yeah. Add more of the other parts of the story into it. And this is coming from someone who does love this movie. So, yeah, that would have made it better.
Much as in Phantom Menace, the comedy drove me crazy. This is what makes me not like this movie very much. This is what drags this entire movie down. To me, this is the anchor of the movie, is the romance and the picnicking and the riding the tick dudes and the sitting out by the balcony talking and whining about all your problems. I hate the romance in this movie. I hate it so much. I don't like Natalie Portman in the role that she was put in. I cannot stand Hayden Christensen. I do not like him as an actor. I do not like him as Anakin. I just do not like him as a human being. I don't know him, but I'm saying his on-screen performances make me not like him as a human being. From movie to movie, I think he's a terrible actor. I do not think he should be paid to act. I think he's horrible. I understand what you're saying about those scenes, and I get it. It's a perfectly legitimate point of view completely, but I just do not like him. I don't, in the same way I really enjoy Ewan McGregor. It's the exact opposite with Hayden Christensen. And I don't like him looking like he's falling in love, which I think is just complete lust the entire movie. I think it has nothing to do with love. He doesn't care about her at all. He thinks she's hot. He's grown up with her. He's thought she's hot the whole time, and that's why he says he's always thinking back on her. I don't think he really cares about her, and she gets pregnant, and I think that's fuels the whole thing. So I cannot stand that, and that's to me what drives the prequels down so much, is the central part of why these prequels were made, to show this story of Vader, such an important character in the Star Wars universe that leads to Leia, that leads to Luke, like the most important thing about Star Wars, those characters being born, has this as the pinnacle of it. These two actors who I think Natalie Portman is a very good actor. I just don't like her in this role. For me, personally, I do not like her in this role. And for this to be such a crux of this universe that all three of us enjoy so much, that's what frustrates me so much about this. And this is the epitome of it for me. This movie, it's building up the story of who these two are, why they care about each other. And honestly, I just think it's bull. It's just all a bunch of bull. It's just, I'm sorry. It frustrates me so much.
No, I see what you're saying. And it's true. they focus so much on this, but I understand why Lucas focused so much on it. Should he have focused much on the love story? No, but that's sort of like the driving factor for Anakin. His mom dies. Well, he loves Padme. He's letting that consume him, turn things into fear.
Don't. I'm not saying they should get rid of the romance. I'm saying they should like just level it.
Yeah, no.
They should have. When they wrote this script, they should have said, no, we need to change this. This needs to be an important part of this movie. I'm completely fine with that. Yeah. I just think the way they did it, terrible.
I
terrible
agree.
job. The way they scripted it and the way they casted it.
Yeah, they focused way too much on it.
I think they failed.
Two things. Let me be clear.
Okay. What's my favorite line? Romantic line.
I don't know what.
You mock me all the time about it.
I don't remember. Oh my gosh, I hate the sand.
It's coarse
and it just gets everywhere. Not like here. Everything here is soft. Like your skin. But so let me be clear on something. When it comes to Hayden Christensen's performances, I picked out a little gold dust grain. But to get to that, I had to dig through the muddiest acting, not possible, but some really wooden performances, ham-fisted dialogue that's performed in just the most flat ways. No, he is not good in this movie at all. And while, yes, he does a few things good, and he even looks like you'd think that Anakin, I guess, should look like. I don't know. But some of these performances are horrible, and the lines are horrible, and he doesn't. But I could imagine them being elevated into being bad lines, I guess, performed with some gusto, And here's the second thing. I think Lucas already did this right when it comes to romance. Sometimes you overlook the romance of the original Star Wars trilogy of Leia and Han because the story doesn't stop for them.
Yeah.
They are falling in love as they're going on this adventure, as they're fighting the Empire. They don't go on this little honeymoon and we're watching some fun,
where you never see anyone else.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're freaking cutting from Jango Fett throwing sound wave bombs at Obi-Wan Kenobi to them laying down next to a waterfall, wasting our time talking about bullcrap with some terrible dialogue. Yes, it's done horribly, and it's just like the first movie in that sense, to where it's just like you're just stopping the story and you're just gonna waste my time with this. When we're in it would be one thing if you're wasting my time with, convincing romance with some fine acting and some fine dialogue, but it's none of those. And so that's what makes it more offensive, is that, not just the whole, you're in my very soul. That kiss is like a scar to me and stuff like that. I've been dying each day since I've seen you again. It's horrible, but the fact that they're wasting my time is the biggest sin of all.
That's the thing about the old movies, the whatever episodes after these movies. Han and Leia fight together, and that's why they care about each other. He saves her, and then they fight together, and kind of, there's this fighting in between, but it's really, masked flirting, and it joins them together. They're bound by this idea that they need to help out this, rebellion, and they need to fight this confederation, and so they're bound together by that.
So
this is not at all like that. That's the opposite. It's, you're hot and I want you. That's what it feels like the whole movie. It's just
seems almost like a Cinderella story, because that's the whole point. He's with her so much, right? Is to protect her and keep her safe.
From what? They're in fields together. I don't even get
You're
that.
You're in a freaking field.
Do something. Lead your people. She's a princess just hanging out in some paradise.
I think we can all agree. Worst thing about this movie is what I think. But can we I think at this point, and as we're in the middle of this trilogy right now, talking about it, let's go ahead and talk about the overarching plot, because this is something that you have to sit and think about, because when you're watching the movie, it's just kind of like things happening, and you're not really thinking about it while you're watching it. It's one of those weird things that you're not really thinking about the overall plot that is being carried out here by
political
Palpatine.
Treachery.
Yeah. You're not really thinking about, because it's really kind of confusing, isn't it? How we have this kind of war that's just really being staged. It's like a play war that's being staged by Palpatine as a distraction, so he can use this war to rise to power. Yeah. And so it's kind of weird because you like see the different people, like the whole thing with the clone army. It is kind of confusing.
Mm-hmm.
Like you think like, who is Sifo-Dyas? They don't really talk about it too much. So like all the conclusion is like, I went to this place. The cloners say that Sifo-Dyas ordered these clones, and then they tell the Jedi that, and they're like, but isn't he dead? He's been dead before this. And they're like, I don't know. Let's use these clones. And so you stop thinking about it, and by the time you revisit it in your mind, you're just kind of confused by it. Because like then you have this. I'm sorry, this is really confusing, and I just want to like hash this out a little bit. You have Obi-Wan Kenobi talking to Jango Fett when he's at the cloner's place, and he's like, were you hired by a man named Sifo-Dyas? He's like, no, I was hired by a man named Darth Tyrannus, in which we find out is Count Dooku. But then so we have it to where he hired him to make the clones, so Palpatine can use them against him, because they show up to that fight to fight against Darth Tyrannus / Count Dooku in that battle against the Jedi with the droids, and so it makes it very confusing. Which like there's just all these both sides playing against each other. It's just very odd. I feel like talking about it.
My guess is Sifo-Dyas somehow was a mouthpiece.
Yeah, exactly. Like he probably really didn't have anything to do with it. And
the
it was
Sith
just a
were
name
somehow
drop.
controlling him, and then Count Dooku was actually the one to go directly to Boba Fett. But Sifo-Dyas, at some point, maybe they used him to go to the aliens, and then they thought that he wanted it so that the Count Dooku wouldn't have to go to him directly. And I'm confused.
Yeah,
we're just even more confused
because it's one of those things where I feel like that could have been a good plot, because I feel like talking about it, I'm like, that's interesting.
Yeah.
But the way it was carried out was very confusing, and of something that could have been interesting is just kind of background noise.
I mean, Obi-Wan was confused. He was like,
yeah, everyone just and stays confused.
Yeah,
and remains confused, and we're kind of left here to discuss it amongst ourselves on a podcast when kind of the rest of the people in the actual story don't seem to care about this crap as much as we do, because they're just like, they discuss it, they're like, some safe ideas, they're like,
like the whole deleting the planet thing was just kind of like background noise.
Yeah.
It was like I'm trying to figure it out, and then Yoda says, just go there. So he just goes there, and there it is. And it's
exactly.
Like, okay, well, never mind.
Well, I thought it was interesting is how like eloquent that place was, where they were building all the droids and the clones and stuff.
You mean the water planet?
Is that what it's called?
I don't know. I mean, it's a water planet.
Ocean World, water world.
I'm not gonna lie. When I first saw this movie and he like is like about to go into the ocean, I was like, what? Where are we? What is going on?
Yeah.
Anywho, but yeah, I think it's so neat how eloquent where they're creating these clones, and then how these clones bring so much destruction to the entire universe.
Oh yeah.
So that was nicely done.
All right. Any other stuff? I mean, I think we've really, kind of gone through it. Unless there's anything else.
Is there, since we're talking overall plot, like, is there some explanation as to why the stormtroopers' voices are different in the original trilogy versus this trilogy?
So what I understand, they don't use clones anymore. That's the thing. Like they were using clones for a long time, and there's still some clones, but they're not all clones anymore. And so that's
how many years is that between episode 3 and 4?
Like 30? No, well, what 20 years?
3 and
between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope.
Yeah, right. It would be 20 years.
About 20 years, something like that. Yeah. And so I guess a lot of time has gone over. So
it's probably going to be about the same for The Force Awakens.
Yeah,
I've thought about that, and I like that. I like that happened.
Let's move into Revenge of the Sith. Let's talk about general thoughts, and this one's going along, and we knew it will be, but that's fine. This is Star Wars, baby.
CGI, just right off the bat.
Right off the bat,
amazing. Man. Like we just saw it, and this is a movie I haven't seen in so long, so this was really good. I got to see it again, but my gosh, like that opening scene is just amazing.
It is amazing.
The CGI is incredible. It rivals a lot of the movies today.
Yeah, agreed.
And it was 10 years ago. 10 years ago, so 2005.
Yeah.
That's insane.
It's a good-looking movie here.
You got to think about movies that were coming out back then. Like, it really set the bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Spider-Man.
Jeez.
Crazy.
All right, so my general impression about this now, watching it, I was still kind of in that mindset of the time. I was feeling very jaded about this original trilogy. I was caring less and less about Star Wars at the time of watching this in theaters. I was just not feeling anything watching it, really. But talking about this now, this is the one in the prequel trilogy that I've seen the most. Mm-hmm. This is a movie I actually really like. And I enjoy this movie. Sitting down with you, I enjoyed watching it a lot. And there are
just because I was there.
Just because you were there, Luke. Actually, just watching it with you. There are definitely a good deal of negatives, but I think the positives have never been stronger than in this movie. That's my feelings, and it remains a movie that I very much enjoy watching, and we'll return to, and in the years to come at some point, and enjoy it then. All right.
I had sort of the opposite of you. I grew to love them more. I was also a little bit younger. But because episode 1, I just didn't really care about, I think. But then I really liked episode 2, and it made me so excited for episode 3. I was like, I did what I don't do anymore, but I watched that trailer who knows how many times. I tried to watch every video clip for this movie. Like, I was so excited. And I think for me, what it was more than anything was just to be a part of the Star Wars universe as it was going on was neat. Like, because with the old trilogy, we weren't alive. And so we didn't get to be like a part of that environment and excitement. And so for me, it was just like, I'm so excited about this. I love it. I'm like, I can't wait. And I saw it at the midnight showing and has lots of great memories associated with it. But yeah, I really overall liked the movie. I thought it was beautifully done. I liked a lot of the characters that we saw in it. More side characters, and yeah, I love it. I do love Star Wars Episode 3.
Okay, Luke, general thoughts.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it as an action movie. I don't know. There's still things that I don't know. I wish they'd done differently. If I'd been able to direct it, which is a terrifying thought, and I would never want to do that. But if I could have had some kind of direction, I would have. I don't know, grounded the movie a little bit more. It just, all 3 of these movies, I mean, like you said, they expand the universe, and in my opinion, all 3 of them expand a little bit far and just take away from what I love about the old movies. And this one, I certainly enjoy it more than the first one, and a little bit more than the second one. It's all over the place. We're flying here, we're flying there, and so many things are happening. And I don't know, I enjoy how the old movies were kind of grounded, and there's this here, and these guys are dictating what's going on here, and that's it. Like, we have these guys like trying to knock down the shield, and we have these guys flying in the air and trying to destroy the ship. And I don't know, this is a pretty good movie in my opinion, but certainly not my favorite Star Wars.
Yeah,
one of my lowest ones.
All right, so let's go ahead and get into the good then. So I have a lot to say about the good stuff in this movie, because I think there's a lot to say. It's kind of weird because I do have a lot of bad stuff to say too, because it's like either for every bad thing I have something good to say, or for every good thing I have a little bad thing to say. So it's kind of like that. But I think there's a lot more good, which kind of goes like, okay, it's a good movie, like kind of what Luke said. It's a pretty good movie. I don't think this is a great movie, but I think there's some great things in it. But I think this is a good movie, and I really enjoy watching it. In fact, that makes that Star Wars means like, oh man, I really enjoy watching it. First of all, let's go ahead and just hash it out. Yeah, we talked about the CGI. That opening shot is amazing. You jumped the gun a little bit.
I was thinking we were going with good stuff.
We were there. It was watching it with you. We were on that couch, being like, oh my gosh, we were awed by that scene. Because that shot of them going down, and you see the perspective of like, it's almost like every time I watch that, it kind of like, it's dizzying to watch, because it's almost like seeing something in 3D that's not in 3D. It's the perspective is so good, seeing the layers of the Star Destroyers and the planet beneath it and all the crap going on in between. Buzz droids. That's an amazing opening. That's one of the best openings in a Star Wars movie. It is great.
Yeah.
That opening is like one of the best parts in this movie, and it's amazing. One of the best space fights, one of the best openings. It's great.
CGI across the board. Like, I feel like when he was talking to Senator Palpatine, and they're at like that, I guess, orchestra type thing, and you see whatever's going on, like that bubbles. Was really pretty. I don't know what it was, or what
the water bubbles.
Yeah, like but it was gorgeous. Like just seeing that, and I was just intrigued from them. Like I don't know what's going on, but that's great.
I was gonna mention this later. That's one of my favorite scenes in the entire trilogy.
Really?
And that's not because of how pretty it looks, to be honest.
I didn't think
because
so.
of how creepy it is. I get
creepy.
like listen, I get chills from that scene. Not because of that, but because of Senator Palpatine and his story and the way it's delivered so creepily. In the music,
him.
Yeah, and just hearing that low, that like chant that's going through it, it's creepy. I haven't heard the tale of Darth Plagueis the Wise or whatever, the tragedy, and it's like super creepy, and like his delivery is just, and the way he's manipulating him, it is creepy, and like. That's one of my biggest compliments of this movie. For the most part, I have some negative things to say about him, but I think Palpatine in this is one of the performances. You get some great performances out of him here. I think there's times where he veers off into the comical territory later in the movie, but for the most part in this movie, I think he is a great villain, and he's acted very well. And to be honest, even when he veers off into the cartoonish, he's very entertaining when my little green friend. It's like ridiculous at that point, but it's still like, oh my gosh, I'm loving this guy when he's all full on. Henceforth, you shall be known as Darth Vader. It's like crazy, but he's my best performance in the entire trilogy. I think when he's being good, I think he's very good, and when he's being bad, he's really entertaining.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the best compliments I'll have for this movie. That scene where he's talking about Darth Plagueis, and it's very mysterious, and like right when I'm hearing it, I'm like, man, I want to know more about Darth Plagueis, but at the same time, I don't, because it's so creepy and mysterious. And I just have this view of what Darth Plagueis was like, and he was being very vague with the story. Like, yeah, was he the apprentice who killed him in his sleep, or something like that, or whatever? It's just really evil.
I'm
like,
gonna go with yes.
Yeah, I'm going. It's pretty obvious. Yeah, but yeah, there's just that whole story is just so strange and weird. You like the whole thing. You can manipulate the midichlorians to create life. It's just love it. Love that scene. I went on about it for ages, but that's because it's favorite part.
George Lucas and his family were in that scene.
Really? Were they all dressed
They
up?
were the like other people watching.
Oh, they told him to leave very rudely. They're like, leave us. He's like, all right.
Yeah, I think that was a great scene. I really like General Grievous. I know a lot of people found him cheesy.
Yes, I do.
Him a lot.
I find him very confusing. Can we just talk about the smoker's cough and how he has organs? Why? Why does he have organs?
I take it that like Darth Vader, he was damaged in some way, and they had like that thing's keeping him alive. Is what I'm guessing.
Born damage, like that's I
understand what you're saying, but I don't get it.
I heard some there's some past knowledge about this. Apparently, in one of the Clone Wars things in like the cartoon, he gets injured.
Oh, okay.
So he's injured is why he has
injured.
That.
He
more like shredded into tiny pieces.
Yeah.
Because all he has is like his lungs, his heart.
No, sorry, not. I'm just talking about the cough. I'm just talking about the crazy cough and the wheezing and whatnot.
So we don't know how he actually got created.
I'm sure someone knows. I don't.
All that's left is his heart and his lungs and like tiny part of his head.
It's
I'm sure he's got a cough.
Yeah,
he's like RoboCop.
Still, just make him a droid. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
But yeah, I mean, I like his design, to be honest. I think he looks cool.
Yeah.
But I don't like how he sounds. I don't think he's menacing, to be honest. Just because he's like, oh, you lose, General Kenobi. It's like he is very much an 80s cartoon villain most of the time. He's entertaining. I'll give you that. That's the one thing I'll say about this movie. When things are bad, unlike the first one, Phantom Menace, at least it's entertaining. He's comical and ridiculous, but at least I'm like kind of, if I'm not enjoying him, I'm laughing at him a little bit. So I'm getting a little bit of that.
I think he looks menacing. Like if he didn't talk,
I think he does. If he didn't open his mouth, I think he looked
the
scary.
eyes and the scar. Like I thought that. I was like, and then he like walks like a fighter.
Yeah. There's this. Okay, I'm veering off into something different. I'm going to mention it quickly. There's this like cartoon shorts that they had, not the Clone Wars. It was the other Clone Wars where it was like 15-minute episodes. There was one where it was just introducing General Grievous, and he was like this really scary character. He was like taking out Jedis like crazy, and it was really awesome and really scary. But we didn't really get that in this movie, and I kind of wish we did because that was amazing. Yeah. Anyways. Good stuff, Luke.
I think this was a great action movie. I think that's the big thing that it has going for it. Just we've said it a little bit before, but like the fighter jets or whatever you want to call them, TIE fighters, the fighter planes and those scenes and Obi-Wan Kenobi fighting General Grievous and Hayden Christensen, that awful human being, fighting Obi-Wan Kenobi, like just scene after scene, they nail it. And there's so much action in this movie. I would like this to just be a great action movie. Like take it out of the Star Wars universe and just make it something else. It'd be a cool action movie.
Yeah. And it is a good action movie. There's a lot of action in it. Like that fight with Obi-Wan versus that's a great fight. I think it's right up there with the Darth Maul fight. I think it's really exciting. Like it's intense because like it looks like, oh my gosh, that's a good thing in a fight where it looks like these two people are really trying to kill each other because there's so many killing blows that very like nearly actually land, and if not for just like, and he's like, and like, oh, Anakin's like choking him out in one scene. It's intense. It's cool.
I think it's the best fight of all three.
It's very good. I can see that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is my favorite part of episode 3 is the fight. The choreography was amazing. The actors delivered. The music was ridiculous. I thought the lava planet was great. Like I love everything about that.
The end is a little weird though. I think the end of the fight is a little weird.
When they stop fighting?
When they it's over, Anakin. I have the higher ground.
That's when
don't do it.
Stopped.
It stopped. The fight's over.
They weren't fighting anymore. They were going into dialogue. But the fight scene itself was beautifully done. Like, oh my gosh, that is my favorite thing.
It's very great.
Everything just.
Why the heck does he try to flip over him? Like,
it's stupid.
Just jump in front of him and then fight. Like,
exactly. Don't jump over him like an idiot. You underestimate my power. But
there was a lot of great one-liners, before and after that scene.
Yeah, we'll get there. Other good stuff. Shoot. I do like the Palpatine and Yoda fight, even though, again, it kind of, for me, ends inexplicably.
Like that.
But it's a great fight. It's awesome to see Yoda being cool again.
It was just kind of like, well, we can't kill him, so we'll just end it.
Exactly. The fight will just kind of stop and not really end.
He'll just go hide. Crawl through some tube.
Oh
my gosh. It drives me crazy.
Ridiculous. I was like, what are you doing?
He's like hanging there.
That annoys me so
fully
much.
evil to everyone. He's
just
like, I'm just going crazy now.
Laughing.
Come on.
That's the cartoon character mode he goes into, where I'm laughing and enjoying it, but it's way
so
over
ridiculous.
the top. Way over the top. It just is crazier and crazier as the movie goes on. But other good stuff. Really good scene that does actually get me a little emotional. Not like I'm tearing up or anything, but I'm like, oh man, this is sad. When the Jedis are getting killed, I think it's as big as it should be. Like it feels as tragic and as like epic as it should be. All the Jedis getting killed by that. It feels really serious and really big. And like a lot of stuff in this
serious, Jordan.
It is serious, but a lot of stuff in that that's supposed to be really serious in this trilogy don't really land like that does. And the music, in the way it's mostly silent, it's really good. And like, that it really does like kind of like, oh man, it's so sad when he's like, come on, let's go. And he turns around and he's like, what's going on? And he gets freaking shot up. And it's like, man, that sucks.
I thought it was a really cool scene. I mean, terrible what was happening, but a really cool scene when, Darth Vader is walking into the Jedi Temple and they have the shot from like bird's eye view and stuff. And then he goes in and like, Master Skywalker.
Oh God, we'll get there. For me, I'll get
That's
there.
The worst.
God. All right, so
that little kid was really cute.
He has a puppy dog. That's Master Skywalker. What do we do?
The scene walking in, I love that.
Very cool
the
visuals.
Music, it's great.
I really liked how they did Yoda, and he was with Chewbacca and all the buddies, and he falls and drops his cane right as it's happening.
Oh,
I thought
yeah.
that was a good scene.
Clutches his heart.
Yeah.
And then destroys those clones, and then they take him off to the pod. I thought that was planned out well.
Yeah, that was cool.
It makes sense why he was there, sort of. But and then it makes sense, how, okay, that's why Yoda had a chance. And
Yeah, exactly. One thing that's good, like kind of what you're describing there, like sometimes in this movie, like the ideas and like the plot doesn't really get through that much, but like what they don't sell with actual like character motivation and like dialogue, they do a lot with visuals. Like if you don't, whether or not you buy Anakin turning evil like that, they really do their darndest to sell it with the visuals of him like almost going through a physical transformation with his eyes and the look, and that's kind of like that cold look of a killer and how it kind of slowly starts to take over him a little bit. They do a good job visualizing that. If even if they don't do a good job in other respects, the visuals are very nice, and like that you get a lot of shots of close-ups of him shrouded with the yellow eyes. I mean, that's beautiful. Like that's really good looking. But other stuff like that, like this visually, I think it's just an all-around great looking movie. Not only like CGI, but artfully done. Like that scene where Padme and Anakin are kind of contemplating, and it's like shooting between the two of them. That's just some beautiful shots when you see the city outside and the sunset and them kind of contemplating what's going on or whatever. That's good. It's good stuff. And I feel like that some of the stuff in this later half or like later quarter, I guess, of the movie are just so far beyond like so much that happens in this movie. Like when the whole thing with the Jedi, that's what I'm saying. Like it's one of those things where I was saying when something's like jarringly good, I'm like, I feel like did someone else direct some of these scenes? It's like that's kind of how I'm feeling like in a lot of different scenes like this. Like
Steven Spielberg did help direct the fight scene.
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
The two brothers scene. He did that.
Really cool.
Yep.
Interesting.
That's why it was so awesome.
Yeah. How about that? Anything else on the good stuff?
That's all I've got.
That's all you got, Manisha?
I'm trying to think. Yeah. Everything else I've sort of said about like the previous movies, costume set, music, like I thought the music and editing was beautifully done throughout the entire movie. And I know so much of that is just John Williams, but I think just how they placed it together and the transitioning, it worked really well.
Well, here's a good thing.
Definitely messed that up.
I have a good thing. Jar Jar Binks isn't really in this movie that much. That's a good thing. He's just there to say, excuse me, or whatever that one time. But
it's weird how much he's not in it.
It's very strange.
He's so much a part of the other movies.
Wonderful.
Oh, yes.
Oof.
Wonderfully strange.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyways, let's move on to some bad stuff. I had some big, I think, like, I didn't have a huge long list of compliments, but the ones I have, like, they're big compliments. I think those parts of the movie are just, like, really important, and they're just really good. But anyways, I think there are a lot of bad stuff to talk about, unfortunately. Unfortunately, like, there's not as bad, I think, for me, but there are some bad moments, like some very bad moments. But let's talk about some. Manisha.
Bad moments.
Like bad stuff in this movie.
I was really disappointed when, Senator Palpatine was like electrocuting Samuel L. Jackson's character, or like right before that, like that whole interaction.
No, he's the traitor.
I just didn't. It wasn't convincing. I don't know. Like,
it all happened so fast.
It did. It happened so fast. That's something else. Like, okay, like Anakin comes in and he's like, wait, no, yes, no. You told me to do this and I was gonna go do that, but instead I decided to come here and now I'm gonna go to the dark side. Like, it was so quickly done.
Yeah.
I get why they did that, but at the same time, like, I felt like there should have been a tiny bit more confliction on his side. Maybe the senator was successful, obviously manipulating him, and so that's why. But like, yeah, it was just so like, he looked up to this Jedi master, and then just like, no, done with you.
Yeah, they should have had more time spent with this.
Yeah, too quick, and
it should have been like a slow thing of servitude where you slowly get closer and closer, and then you have that like dependency towards that person.
Yeah,
but it went from I'm ready to turn you in, or I should kill you right now, or I am going to turn you in, to I'm going to do anything you say.
Yeah.
And it's just so quick. And it's like, every time I talk about this, I'm like, there's a lot of discussion that happens among Star Wars fans about like the nature of the dark side and how it's intoxicating and how it really twists you and turns you. As much as that might be the case, I think it could have been portrayed better.
Yeah.
Like I almost have like this thing, like I heard a lot of conversations like that, like the act of like killing someone in hate is like will turn you or something like that. And you can kind of like see that ever since like when he kills like Dooku, it's like the Emperor setting him on that course.
Yeah.
But in like that and on paper, that's good. But translated, it doesn't really come out that much. It just seems abrupt.
With that too, if he didn't have this like strong brotherly connection to Obi-Wan Kenobi, like sure, that would have made way more sense. But he still, I mean, there was no like deciding factor that like you are my enemy. It only started happening right before the fight, you know? Like I think that was something I didn't like either. It's like, oh, you respect him, he's your master, and then you just throw that all out the window, like super quick, like nothing happened, you know, like there was no ties, there was no bond there. Because I can understand you're destroying what is Samuel Jackson's character's name? I'm blanking.
Mace Windu,
yeah. He wasn't obviously as loyal to him, but like to the person he's loyal to, he just threw it away, and that
there's no reason for it.
That's what really I think got me about the whole transition to Vader in that moment is like, well, what about everything he's taught you? Like, everything he has instilled in you. And maybe it goes back to what you were saying about how quickly the dark side takes over you or something, but that just could have been conveyed better.
And the thing that sucks is like what was kind of striking me during this, watching it in this viewing, I noticed, I was telling Luke during the movie, like, they're closer than ever. Him and Obi-Wan are like never been on such good terms. Like it's weird. He's like saying like at the end, he's puffing him up and encouraging him, saying stuff like, "Today is your day. You won this. You carried me out on your back, man. And go have your day with the politicians and everything. You earned it." And saying stuff like that, like you're an amazing Jedi. You're saying like you're strong and wise. May the Force be with you. And they're like super cool and on good terms.
Calls him old friend.
Old friend, exactly. It's like they're so close, and like wouldn't have been better if like the rift became more and more, and it wasn't
growing on top building kind of thing. I think that would have been perfect. I think oh, slowly, like you see this, but it just happens. It happens way too quickly.
I feel like they flip flopped there. I felt like this should have been the relationship they should have had in Attack of the Clones, and like they seem more hostile to each other in that movie. It should have been more like that because it would have seemed like it would make more sense for him to feel a little bit more betrayed. And then there's just this weird thing where you're like, does he think like she's with like that Padme's with Obi-Wan? Is that like what he thinks? Because where in the world are you getting that? And it's just like him, that one scene was like, oh, Obi-Wan was here. Like, why was he here? I was like, are you kidding me? Where is this coming from? And so it's like really weird. It's almost like he's like acting like an alcoholic or something.
And that's another thing. What the heck, Padme? Like, she sees all these signs from Attack of the Clones, and she's just like, whatever.
It makes her a weak character.
I just love you.
It makes her
just so attractive. Like,
well, I mean, there's people out there like that, but
I know, but she was a queen. Like, she's supposed to be this strong political figure that has authority, that has good judgment, and then that, like, especially with the going back to Attack of the Clones, like, why wasn't there a more stronger reaction? Why didn't that build up either? Seeing them, like her seeing Anakin not trusting her or something. Like,
no, she's just in denial the whole movie. So
it's Attack of the Clones. They're in that area with the monsters, and she climbs to the top and then freaking does all that craziness, and like that says, okay, this girl knows what she's doing. She can handle herself. And then to me, like this movie, I think they felt a responsibility to say, okay, she has to give birth at the end of this movie. So we need to make her a subdued character. So in the beginning, we'll have her like right off the bat announce something wonderful's happened, Annie. No, something terrible's happened. You've had sex with him. Why would you do that? So that kind of like set this prerequisite for the rest of the movie that you're going to be subdued. You're not going to do anything, which I understand why they did that. I don't agree with why they did that, but that's what they did, and it's annoying.
Big statement of us.
Wow, there's so many things I was thinking of when you guys were talking. Now I'm starting to blank on what I was going to say.
It happens to me too all the time. I'm like,
you were talking about all those things. Ah, gosh.
Her being like, just how the characters are developed. The storyline it was so slow, so fast, so did not make sense in some way.
Yeah, just his descent in the dark into the dark side was very steep, and he just went straight there.
I will say, I should have said this on the positive part of it. I did like when he was like actually getting into the Darth Vader like outfit and stuff. I know a lot of people found that really cheesy.
No, I like that.
But I thought when they were like pulling off the like, I just loved seeing that anguish, and I love that. So for me, that like from a fan's perspective, that was more me being like, okay, now you're Darth Vader, not okay, now I'm Darth like Vader because someone told you are. Now you truly are, because you tried to kill the one person besides Padme that probably loves you more than anything. You know, like that was his true descent to that.
Yeah, I mean,
what I was thinking about was what you guys were saying about his quick descent, and like for the most part, I mean, I completely agree. But I guess part of me has a slightly different opinion, where we've talked about this before, and I hold the strong opinion that Anakin was always evil. Like he was evil from the moment we met him. I mean, he looked like a sweet kid, and you know, obviously they got a sweet kid who was not a good actor to play him, and they portray him as this sweet, innocent Anakin. But to me, he was always selfish. Like he's always been selfish. It's always about himself, and it's always about, what do I get out of this for me? I don't care about anyone else. I'm going to act like I care. I'm going to act like I'm trying to hold other people and myself to this Jedi standard, but that's not all what I care about. I care about me. I care about getting a pretty girl next to me. I care about, you know, my children. I care about these things, and it's all about me. And it was, to me, a little bit of what they did there kind of supported my theory there. It was like who he was just exploded out, because he was covering himself in this shroud. Much later, how he covers himself in an actual shroud because he's so damaged and has to have the breather and the mask and all that. He was always in a shroud before. It just wasn't an actual physical shroud. It was this shroud of, I want to be a Jedi. I want to be this great force for other people. When in reality, he didn't give a rip about anyone else. He always wanted Padme, and I want to be the greatest Jedi. I want to be the youngest council member. And what the heck? They're making me a council member, but they're not making me a Jedi master. Like, it's all about me. What the heck? And so it kind of made sense. It was like, yeah, I want to be this person that I've told everyone I want to be. But deep inside, I just really want to be the biggest and most powerful thing that I can possibly be. And so now Darth Sidious is here offering me that. I'm just going to go with it. And kind of, you know, in those moments, we see that part of him coming through. When his mother dies, he says, you know, I'm feeling very upset that my mom died, so I'm going to just kill all these people.
Yeah.
Because that's the way I feel, and I want to fill this thing inside of me. And to me, time after time, he showed who he really was. And it wasn't just that he was tempted by the dark side, which he was, obviously. But I think that temptation of the dark side really was just a selfishness inside that just always would nag at him. You need to get more for you. Go get yours, you know, each time. And so that, I think where I do agree with you guys, I slightly disagree, where it's like, okay, that kind of made sense to me because I hold this theory, you know, like I'm saying. And it's like, okay, it just exploded out to where it's like, Mace Windu, you're getting in my way. I'm done. And then it's like, oh crap, what did I just do? Well, I guess I'll do what I can do for you, because now I can become a great Sith Lord and then have these powers to bring people back to life and hopefully overthrow you and take over the Empire. Like, ultimately, I want everything for myself.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those things where it's like when I'm watching it this time, like hearing your like point of view when we did the original trilogy discussion, I was like, really? Come on. When I was hearing that a little bit, but seeing it again, I can kind of see that more. Not only that, going by the movie's logic, based on the prophecy, he's destined to become that person. And like, you know, in real life, that's obviously, you know, like an ideology that I resist. I like to believe in that there is a choice, and the fact that they made this character this way, I don't like that at all. But yeah, that's kind of what they set up now, isn't it?
If you think back in episode 1, I mean, that was basically what like Yoda and Mace Windu were saying when they like tested him. They're like, no, like we can see something in you that's not gonna make you exactly what they thought the prophecy was supposed to be, you know, because obviously it came full circle. But yeah, like I mean, that does support Luke's theory in that they're like, no, we see that you're not out for the better, like, which they obviously thought for someone to bring balance to the Force that they would need to be this amazingly good person all around.
Yeah, and I don't like that. Like, I really don't. Like, but the thing is, it's there. It is.
Think about
there.
how easily he left his mother.
Yeah,
and
he's out.
To me, like the whole pod race, like this is stretching it, I think. But the pod race, to me, it's just like I'm going to be able to win finally because I have this guy's backing, and this is a Jedi. Maybe he'll influence me somehow. Like to me, it's just always selfish. Like I want to go become a Jedi, so I'm going to befriend him, and I'm going to do what I have to. I'll fix your ship. I can fix anything, and you know,
Yeah.
I think I'm digging a little bit here, but I do think it's there in some way that.
Yeah. There's definitely
They describe it as fear, but I think it's almost
it
fear of being found out how selfish he is. It's fear of not getting what is his. Not so much fear that other people are going to get hurt, which is the way they describe in the movie. I think it's fear I'm not going to get what I want. I'm not going to surround myself with people that make me happy.
Yeah, and like it's like I resist it because like it goes against my ideology so much, but like in seeing it in this, it's kind of frustrating that like our characters don't really have a choice, but like so they don't have really an opportunity for change, and so it's like, ugh, come on. But like, yeah, well, the things that the Jedi say, they're a lot more extreme than anything I'd ever prescribe to. Like the whole don't get attached to anyone, and it's like don't mourn or be upset when someone dies. Rejoice, and they're becoming part of the Force. And it's like if you become attached to someone, that's that's letting greed into your life, and like. Where I'm like, wow, that's really extreme. But in this universe, that seems to be gospel because that's actually exactly what seems to be going on.
It almost backfired, I think. Well, it did backfire because the whole not attaching yourself, that kind of thing. The whole reason they do that is so you don't become selfish. And in this situation, he looked at it as more, no, I deserve that.
Do you think if they
have that?
Do you think if they didn't have that ideology that he'd be in the same position? Like if they were more understanding, if they weren't so extreme
in this universe, I think no matter what, he would have turned into Darth Vader.
Okay.
If there was, I mean essentially because that was the prophecy, but they just didn't. They didn't see how it was
that's a very
to go
interesting
through.
thing. I wanted to bring that the prophecy. So I think I understand what it is, but I'd like to hear what you guys think the prophecy actually means. When they say the prophecy and how it relates to Vader, I have my theory. Tell me what you think they mean by that and how it actually played out.
Well, what I think they mean is like, honestly, I think the prophecy is kind of bullcrap, to be honest.
The prophecy is that there was someone who was supposed to be trained in the Jedi ways, and he would bring about the end of the Sith. That's the prophecy.
Destroy the Sith.
Simple
and
as that.
Bring balance to the Force, which it kind of seems to contradict for me because like if I thought there was going to be balance to the Force, I would think that means there'd be a dark side and a light side and be balanced between the two. But there never ever seems to have that happening ever. And so it's kind of strange to me when I think like that's always what I thought. It always kind of made me scratch my head. And like, so that's what I've always thought, that Anakin fulfills the prophecy by bringing balance to the Force, by having like the Jedi wiped out a little bit and having a balance between the dark and the light. But no, that is not the official thing about bringing about the prophecy. According to George Lucas, what brought about the fulfillment of the prophecy was Luke Skywalker destroying.
That's what I was going to say, because I thought you were translating it the other way.
Nope. Yeah.
My understanding is in the original movie here, Episode 1, they just completely misunderstood the prophecy. Mm-hmm. They saw this kid as the one, and that was just completely wrong.
That's really Luke Skywalker.
He's the father of the person who's going to bring about the balance. And
well, actually. I misspoke.
Obi-Wan's
let's take this back a little bit. We misspoke, both of us. You know what I just said? That Luke Skywalker kills the Emperor.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Darth Vader, Anakin Skywalker kills
because
the
of Luke.
Because of Luke.
Because
so,
Luke brings out finally. He takes that selfishness that he's always seen and he turns it. At the very end of his life, Anakin sees the light because of his son. Yeah. His son is such a bright light who is unselfish. He shows Anakin, look, this is the way you should have always lived, Father. Like, you should live for other people. And he finally does something unselfish as his final act. That's my theory.
Well, would we say, though, that Anakin Skywalker is still the person in the prophecy, though? But Luke is what was the final factor to encourage him to bring balance? Like, that's where I feel like things get rocky. Because
that's not the end, though. That's the end of that movie. But technically, and I hope they're going to fulfill that in the movies to come, that they're supposed to end the Sith, like multiple Sith. Like, just because the Emperor was gone, I don't believe that the balance was finally made. I mean, maybe I just don't understand. But my understanding is there's other Sith out there, and Luke needs to go seek those out and bring about the rebellion as the leaders of the new government. I mean, the final end of these 6 movies isn't really an end. It's just, the Emperor ends. Cool, how much more of the Federation is still left?
Like, I think that's true. It's not really an end. And I mean, if we were talking like 6 years ago, not knowing another movie was coming out, like it would be so like, well, we'll never know.
Yeah.
But now we get to know.
My hope,
hopefully.
And this would kind of be the end of this podcast, but my hope for The Force Awakens is that they somehow describe that. I mean, I don't think they're gonna really show that, but my hope would be they would show Luke and his band of Jedi that he's trained or whatever, all his Padawans following him around and hunting down Sith, and like, some special forces finding them in every crack of every crevice of the universe and hunting them down and bringing about justice. But I don't think that's what it's going to be. But that would be my understanding of how the story should be played out.
Bringing closure to it.
Finally, the prophecy is fulfilled by this amazing Jedi leader who is unselfish and cares for other people more than he cares for himself.
That's the thing. Why I'm like, one of the big things I'm excited about this movie is like in the title, The Force Awakens. Like, for me, like in all these movies in the prequel trilogy, like that's something they don't delve that deep into enough for me. Like, I think the Force and like everything mystical in these movies are the most interesting thing by far. I'm fascinated by it. I think it's very cool. That's why one of my favorite parts is him talking about Darth Plagueis the Wise. He almost sounds like this old, ancient, all-powerful thing who can create life, and he can stop people from dying. That's crazy. What does that even mean? I don't even know if that's canonical. Yeah, it's canonical. That's right. These movies are canon. But
reminds me of like Sauron and Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
yeah, it's very creepy and weird. And like,
what's so cool about those movies?
And it's one part where I'm like, man, like after all this talk about midichlorians, because that's my problem I do. It kind of takes away the mystical aspect a little bit, but that makes it sound really mystical and creepy and cool. But like here we have a title called The Force Awakens, where like I want to know what that means, and it's like something has awakened. Like, I don't care what trailer you've seen, that's the freaking teaser or whatever, the dark side and the light. Like, that's really interesting to me. That's something where I'm like, I want to delve deeper and deeper into that. I can't get enough. Every single little story like that or thing going into, I find it very interesting. And like, even though I don't really understand the prophecy, I'm interested by it. I just so like stuff like that, bring it on.
I guess what I would love to see is what I just described, like Luke and them like hunting down the Sith, and then there was like some period of just calm. Like, the Jedi didn't need to do anything. There were no Sith that they knew of. I mean, obviously there are, because they're going to continue the story, so they haven't destroyed all. Yeah. But he brought balance to the Force for a period. And then there was no need for the Force because the Jedi didn't have anyone to fight. Yeah. The balance, I understand what you're saying about dark and light, but the balance was weighed in favor of the light, so there wasn't any turmoil. When the dark rules, there's turmoil, and the Force needs to be used and harnessed, and especially the dark side, they really harness the Force to do these terrible acts and crazy things, bring people from the dead. But then when the light rules, to me, there's just calm. It's just relaxed. Yeah. There's no one dictator trying to rule over everyone.
That is such a good point, though. Like, you just made me realize, Luke, is when you were saying like the dark side uses the Force too to bring so much chaos. So that would definitely go in with your theory of the balance going fully to the light side. So the Force itself is at balanced. That's
interesting. Yeah.
Like that's very true. And I think, in the trailer, she says, well, I've heard stories about that. So I would be a little surprised if they didn't go a little deeper into that kind of stuff.
Sure,
because I feel like they're setting up for that. Hopefully.
And like the wording when they talk about the Force, like when the things that the dark side do is they say this phrase: "I feel a great disturbance in the Force."
Yep.
Yeah.
And so that means something like is out of whack in the Force, unbalance. And so that's
dark forces at act.
Yeah.
Is
so that
doing
would be.
Something, I
completely agree with that. Would be very neat.
Yeah.
And to fully understand it too would be cool.
Oh man, it's been really good talking about these movies. Like oddly enough, even though I like the original trilogy much more than this one, I've had even more fun talking about this one for some reason.
We get to lead in.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't make sense, but we've gotten to talk about The Force Awakens and what all this means for that.
Yeah. So excited.
It's crazy that next week we'll be sitting down reviewing
that's
The Force Awakens. I can't even freaking believe it. It's crazy.
Thursday night. That's just crazy.
Thursday night we will be sitting in Orange Park. How long ago did we get our tickets?
My God.
Like 2 months
August?
ago?
Whenever
September?
they released them on that
I thought
Monday
it was
Night
August.
Football, we were all on the internet.
Maybe it wasn't August. Maybe it was September.
Maybe, yeah, but like
Whenever they released them. It was the day after I got
them. And the day after we got our tickets, they were sold out on that showing.
I got them the same day. I think the morning of.
Guys, we're
out.
going to be in a packed theater. I'm scared of what might happen to us from rampaging fans.
I'll bring my saber, boys.
Please do. Please do. We're not allowed to light it in the theater according to AMC.
I didn't think I was even allowed to bring it.
Thank you, AMC,
you're allowed to
for
bring
that
it.
disclaimer.
You just can't light it in the theater.
Yeah, you can't light it in the theater. You can't bring your blasters.
You're gonna kick
and you can't talk. You cannot talk.
Don't freaking talk.
It.
Don't hit people in the back of the head.
I don't want to get arrested the night that it opens up.
One thing that there's gonna be some cheering in that theater.
Oh yeah,
there's gonna be some rip-roaring cheering.
With what you were saying about like crazy Star Wars fans, I feel like Star Wars fans are some of those fans that just have an utmost respect for other fans.
Fanaticism?
Like, I really do.
Fanaticism reigns supreme.
I do, like, because I saw the midnight premiere Star Wars Episode 3, and everyone except I think my family was dressed up. Like, it was so cool. It was such an
suits, tuxedos.
Yeah.
You got top hats and canes.
But yeah, I think Star Wars fans are really.
I really did think you meant dressed up.
Dressed to the nines.
I was joking about the suits, but I really did think you meant like collared shirts.
Everyone dressed up as characters except us, and it was just such a neat environment. It was such a neat atmosphere to be in. I'm so excited to be in it again, and I think they are they're crazy. They go a little extreme, but they are respectful to the fandom.
So I don't expect there to be a lot of yipping and talking.
But I do expect I respect good reactions, like good reaction to the movie, not to what your neighbor is saying. Like,
it's hopefully a good reaction because it's a good movie.
That too.
It's groans because we find out that Jar Jar's the main character in this movie.
Oh no.
What?
Don't say such things.
Anyways, I am primed. This podcast has got me even more excited. And I'm ready for Thursday to watch this movie with you guys and Carrie and everyone. And it's going to be awesome.
Christmas is coming early for Star Wars fans.
Yes. Happy Star Wars Christmas to us all. I don't think
two favorite things.
Yeah, right.
Christmas and Star Wars.
I don't think we're going to review the Star Wars Holiday Special, but
no.
Come on, man.
It was bad. That's my review.
It's horrible. There we go.
Bad.
We've seen it, and it's bad.
I made it through the first 5 minutes.
Making it through that movie is a misery. So, anyways, guys, enjoy Star Wars: The Force Awakens. Be safe. Don't talk in the theater. Merry Christmas and happy holidays. See you guys next week for our review of Force Awakens.
Bye.
Woo-hoo!